Hi guys, Crafty Crystal here. I'm here to show you how to do a thermal stitch in the round with a flat bottom. That's the main purpose of this one, is to show you thermal stitch in the round with a flat bottom and how to start from the vertical on there so you have a straight sided edge and a flat bottom. And you can use those for any kind of little containers that you want to make from there on out. Um, this time we'll be using the V-stitch, a double V-stitch on the outside, and the insides will be single crochet. And we start a little odd, but we start that way because um, see how smooth the inside of this is? We start with two um, little discs and we put them together. And if we don't, we have this funky looking divot in the middle. I don't like that divot. So we start out with two discs and we do our second row here through both discs and we end up with a smooth bottom. Okay? So that's why we have the two discs. You're going to say, well, do we have to do that? Can't we just skip it? You can if you don't mind a hole in the bottom of your basket. Okay? So I'm using Red Heart Super Saver yarn. I'm using an eye hook. And that's really all you need to get going. You can use any size yarn, any size hook that goes along with that yarn, including big bulky yarn. You can use super bulky yarn and a big hook and make a basket for a cat to sleep in. The sky's the limit, guys. Just your imagination, your hook, and your yarn. Let's get going. All right, guys, we're going to take the loose end and hold it in our hand. Wrap the yarn twice around the finger. Hold it. We're going to take the back loop and bring it over the front loop. And I like to put it on the base of my fingernail. Good catch spot. Take the second loop and pull it out so I can push my fingernail up and make my loop. And this loop is reversed because it's the short end that gets larger and smaller. Okay? Now you see how this is the side that gets smaller? I'm going to hold that on the bottom. And you want this to continue on around in a circle. So this part goes through the knot and comes up here. All right. Now, trying to do this so you can see it and not get out of sight is hard. Okay, we're going to wrap this around here and we're going to go in the circle on this side of the knot. You want the knot behind it over here. Okay? And we're going to do 8 of these. That's 1, and this is 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. All right. Now we're going to pull the short end until you get a nice tight center. See there? Okay. Now all you want to do is you want to take these first the first little loop that came out of the knot, and you're going to slip stitch into that. Come on. Ah, there we go. Okay. Now this part we just went into, and the loop that's on our stitch here, counts as 1. So you should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay? If you don't, go back and do it again. Now, this is the first little circle, and we're going to make another one. So I'm going to tie this off, and I'll be back, and we're going to start from where we have 2 circles. So you make this one, tie off your pieces, so they'll get awful confusing if you don't. Make your second one, but don't cut the thread, okay? We're going to go on from there. All right, I'll see you then. So we have our two little discs. We're going to take the one that still has our yarn attached and put it in back. Set the one in front on it. These loops are a little bit bigger because I've already gone through it and torn it out. So they'll look bigger than yours looks. Right now, we're going to go through the back loop of the front one. Back of the front one. And both of the back ones. Okay? We're going to start out by chaining one. You go through the back of the front one and both of the back ones. This will leave our front loops out all the time so that we will be able to do the second layer of our stitch. You need to do 2 in each of these. So we're going to go to the front of the back of the front piece into the 2 back stitches and do that twice. Back of the front, both of the back ones. And do that around. Whoops. Twice, Chris. 2 of them. There we go. We want to end up with 16 stitches. That's 2, 2, 2, 2. We do that 4 more times. And we'll have our 18 stitches, our 16 stitches. And here's our last one. Through the front, through both of the back. We'll do this twice. And slip stitch in our first one. Alright, so these two count as 1. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Now, I want to enlarge these fronts a little bit so they're easy to see. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So we know this little piece in here is not 1. This is our first one, and this is our last one. So we're going to chain 1. We're going to come down in the first one and do 2 single crochets. We're going to take our first stitch and pull a marker through. We're going to take our last stitch that we identified down here and we're going to pull our marker through. There. Now we're just going to go through and we're going to put 2 single crochets in each of the front loops. And 1, 2, and on around. I'll meet you back. Back around. 2 stitches in this one. And 2 stitches in this one. And here's our marked one. That's our last one on the front. 2 stitches in this baby. And slip stitch into our first front one. There we go. Again, we have 2 discs. Each disc has 16 pieces, 16 stitches in it. So we're going to chain 1 And we're going to play where we played catch up. Now that they're both the same, we're going to go to the front of the first one and the 2 loops to the back one and start our third row. 2 stitches. I want to put 1 in the first. Put 1 in the first stitch and 2 in the second. 1 and 2, 3. And 4 and 5, 6. And 1 in the next row, that's 7. And 2 in the next one, that's 8, 9. 1 in the next one, that's 10. 2 in the next one, that's 11 and 12. And when you count this way, when you do your 2s, whatever number you're doing is divisible evenly. So I'm on 12 and 3 goes into that evenly. Okay? Going around and I'll meet you in back. And I didn't mark my first one. There's my first one. Slip stitch. Okay, now we're left with the fronts again. We have 24 in the back. We need 24 in the front. So we chain 1. And I'm going to come down the front, the first one. And I'm going to chain 1. Do 1 single crochet. And do 2 single crochets in the next one. And this time I'm going to remember to mark it. And this is my last one right here. There. Okay, now I'm just going to go around and do 1 and 1, 2. Each front stitch around. And 1 and 1, 2. Okay, we're going to have a double again. So I'll meet you around here. Okay, I'm at the end of the front of my third row here. Do 1 and 2. I split it there. Split my thread. Okay, 1 and 2, 3. And slip stitch to my first one. Okay. Now, what do we do when we have 2 of the same size? We connect them. So row 4, the first half of row 4 is connecting the front to the back. Go through the back stitch to the front one, and both threads to the back one. And that's 1. Ah, Chris, I got this thing about forgetting to chain 1. Chain 1. Okay. So we're going to make 1 stitch in the first set, 1 stitch in the second set, and do number 3 and 4 in the third set. So it's 1, 1, 2. Here's number 5, number 6, number 7, 8. So just like you did with the second and the third, you're going to go around and do your 4th row connecting your front and your back. doing 1 and 1 and 2. Okay, I'll meet you around here. On my last 3 stitches. 1, 1. Where are you? There you are. And 2. And slip stitch to my first one. Okay, now, just like we did before for round 3, we're going to go on round 4. We're going to do 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 1, 2, all the way around. And we'll end up with 32 stitches on each disc. Okay? Okay, here's your first one. That's 1, 2, and 2 in this one. That makes 3 and 4. Put a marker in my first one. And in this one here, the very last one I'll be doing. There. Okay, you go ahead and I will meet you around. We're doing 1 and 1 and 2. Okay, meet you around the other side. And I'm on my last set. 1 and 1 and 2. Whoops. Sure like to split my thread, don't I? There we go. And slip stitch. And there we are. We've got 32 in each. And we're going to go back and do row 5. Go through the back of the first and both thread to the back ones, just like every other row. And this time we're doing sets of 5. So that's 2, 3, and 4, and 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And where's my, there it is. That's my marker. Okay. My back row. These get hard to find because they're kind of hidden back there. There. Okay. So that's 5, 6, 7, 8, and 2 in this one, and that makes 9 and 10. 11, 12, 13, and 14, 15. 5 goes equally into 15, so you know you're on the ball when you put the 2 in there. Okay, you going on around. I'll meet you over here. All right, now, it's decision time. This is the point at which you would do this back stitch, this next stitch single, and close it off. And that makes you a little coaster. Or you can keep going until you have a trivet. Or we can start doing a vertical. And if we're going to do a vertical, then this front row needs to be a half double. So if you decide you're ready to go vertical and you don't want to make a flat piece, then you go ahead and join me on the next round. We'll make it half double. If you want to stop it here and make a coaster, then you do a single crochet and then you do slip stitch all around the edge. If you want to do a trivet, you make it out as big as you want it, doing just what we've done now, adding an extra stitch each set. So the next row would be one crochet in 4 spaces and then 2 in the next, and that gives you 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 2 in the next, 6. So it'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. And you do that around for the next set, and then 7 for the next set, 8 for the next set, until you got it as big as you want it. Okay? But what we're going to do is we're going to start vertical. And you start vertical on the bottom. And the bottom is going to be, you start to go vertical. This is going to be the bottom of your set. See? This will be the bottom under here. This will be your inside top. So, look at it this way. This will always be your outside. So what you want to do is you want to chain 1 and wrap and go into the front down here and do a half double. Wrap, go into the next one for a half double. Wrap, go into the next one. That makes 1, 2, 3. And the fourth one we're going to do 2, and that makes 5. So a half double and half double. We're going to do sets of 5 all the way around. So 1. Whoops. See what I just did? 1, 2, 3, and 4 and 5. And 1. You get used to doing singles. And 2. Wait, 1. It's going to be a long day, guys. And 2. And 3. And 4, 5. Okay, do that all the way around because we start the next one, we're going to be doing something different. Okay? All right. Okay, come in on the end of my row and do 2 in the last one. And slip stitch. There. Now we're going to do something different. We're going to turn. Now, see these holes here? These are under the top of our stitches. We're going to start by going in the hole right next to where we came out of here and come out the next hole. That's on top of the stitches. And we're going to do a single crochet. Go back into the same hole you just came out of the next one, do a single crochet. We are turning a corner, and you're going to be surprised at how nice this looks on the outside. Don't look yet, wait till we're done. You can see there's no increasing on the row. You just want to do this all the way around. Okay? Meet you around. Now, is this your last stitch? It looks like it, but you need to look at the fact your first stitch went down that hole and came out that hole. Your last stitch needs to come out of this hole. So we're going to go down where we just came out and go in that hole. Make our last single and slip stitch to the top of our first. Okay. Chain one and turn. Now, we don't want to touch our pretty edge. Look at the beautiful edge we have. And very flat bottom. Nice and flat. So we're going to go through the back side of our edge, the inside stitch. I'm going to go down in here to the top. See the top pieces, the top stitches? On the inside. And make a single crochet. So the inside stitch directly across to the top stitch and single crochet. The inside stitch directly across to the top stitch and single crochet all the way around. Do not touch the outside edge. Go directly across. You have as many stitches on the outside as you do on the inside. Yeah, see? We're continuing our vertical. A nice flat bottom. And we haven't affected our side. So you do that on around and I'll meet you back. Okay, I'm around at the end. And if your inside looks smaller than this, don't worry about it. I've had to do it in and frog it out a couple times. And that made it pull out more. Yours will look just like mine, okay? So, when we get to the last one, how do you know where the last one is? Well, here's where we started. And this is the first stitch that we went into, right here. And then we came out this side. So this is the last stitch we need to come out of. So we're going to go down in this hole that we just came out of and go up inside that first stitch. And then we're going to slip stitch into that first stitch. It's like, yay. See? Alright, now, look what we got here. Flat bottom and a nice crisp edge. Isn't that pretty? It's a pretty edge, too. You don't have to be doing a thermal to do this. Any basket you want to do, you can make this edge on it. That's how you get a crisp edge. Okay, now we're going to turn it back around the way we usually do, outside towards us. Chain one. And we're going to connect this outside rim to the inside rim. We're going to go, excuse me, we're going to go through the stitch, this first stitch, when we're coming out of. We're going to go through the stitch. We're going to go across to our stitch over here. This first one's tricky because you're doing the last of the turnaround. All right. It just wants to give me trouble, doesn't it? I'd like to get that one over and out of the way, and I don't have to worry about it. Now we're going to pull a loop through both and finish our single crochet. So we're going to the inside of our edge and straight across, pull up a loop, and make our single crochet. I'm holding it this way to make it easier for you to see. Inside of the loop, straight across, pull through the loop, and finish your single crochet. So, inside, inside, and inside, inside. Okay, see, very simple. Both rows have the same number of stitches, so we have no problem. There we go. And we're continuing our vertical side. Okay, so I'll meet you around. We'll finish connecting the inside to the outside. I'll meet you right here. All right, I'm back at my last 2 stitches. See, by now I'd be trying to figure out how to connect this inside to this difficult little outside, and I did that already. I'll slip stitch to my first stitch and chain 1. Now, look what we got here. Just remember, I already did my chain 1. This is actually a second way you could finish a pretty caster. You'd have your flat bottom, you'd have your raised side, you'd have like a little cuppy place to put your glass or cup in. Okay, now we want to continue our thermal. Get it there. So what we're going to do now, to continue our double side thermal, we're going to take the inside of these stitches and we're going to do a single crochet around. Very simple. Now it looks like it's going to be see-through because these are very thin where it connects down here. Do not worry about that. We will be covering it up in the next round. So this is super simple round. Just go around each of these top little pieces here, these top loops, and make your single crochet around, and we'll come back and we're going to use the second set of loops that we left behind. Okay? See you around. Okay, I'm around to the end, and I want you to look here. See how this stitch is right over this one? The one that we slip stitch to will be right over this. So we're going to do 1, 2 more stitches, then we're going to slip stitch into this. Okay? All right. Now we have an unbroken line of our second stitches going around to use for our outside edge. And I'm going to start the outside edge with a plain half double. And then I'm going to switch to a V-stitch on the outside. You can do all kinds of cool stuff on the outside. Chain 1, wrap, Go through the outside stitch, pull up a loop, pull through all three. Wrap, go to the next outside stitch, see? Not these now. We don't want to do these. You want to touch the inside. Go through the next stitch, pull through all three. You do this around. Make sure you bend your side over so you can see which ones you're going into. All right. Now this is very simple. Do your half double all the way around. Now it's sticking out. You're not quite sure if we're wrecking our vertical edge, but don't worry about it. Your outside layer is always going to look funky until you connect it to your inside one, okay? So I'll meet you back over here. All right. Okay, our last 2 stitches of half double. Slip stitch to our beginning. Now we have 2 rows around. Okay. Chain 1. We're going to go through our inside stitch here. We want to go through both loops of our single crochet. This is just exactly how we did the bottom. We went through the inside loop of our outside ring and through both loops of the single crochet, and that's what we're doing here, connecting these 2 right across. Okay, and you can see how this bumps out a little bit more. That's because this is a half double and our inside is still single. Okay, so whoops, don't wrap. Continue around doing your inside loop of your outer half double and both loops of the inside single. Okay, and I'll meet you around back here again. Okay. Okay, we're coming around the bend here. With the last couple going in. And slip stitch through our first one. Okay. Now, from here on out, on the outside, we're doing V-stitches. We're going to do, for more height on the outside, we're going to do double V-stitches. So I'm going to chain 2. And then wrap. And I'm going to skip the first one, go to the second one, and do almost a double. And then I'm going to come through both loops. Chain 1, wrap, go back into the same one we just went into. Go through 2 loops only. Wrap, skip one of these outside loops, go to the next outside loop. Go through 2 loops, go through all 3 loops. Chain 1, wrap, go back to the same loop we just went into for the last leg. Go through 2 loops, wrap, skip one outside loop, go to the next outside loop. Go through 2, go through all 3, chain 1, and repeat around. Going through the last leg we just went through, and through 2, wrap, skip one outside loop, go to the next outside loop, go through 2, go through all 3, chain 1. Okay, we can do that around, all the way around. chain one. Okay, so you keep that up and I'll meet you at the other side, all right? Now when you get near the end, go to your last stitch, or your very first stitch I should say, and this is the little horizontal stitch that belongs to it. You skip a stitch, check a stitch, pick a stitch, check a stitch. You should be able to go back to the last leg you used. If not, you're going to have to fudge a little and connect a couple. I'll show you what I mean by that. Okay, when you come down to do your other leg, if I needed to use two of these stitches, I would come in, I go in this one, and this one, pull a loop through both of those, like that, and chain one. See? But I don't need to do that, so let me equalize my stitches here again. Okay, so I go through the last leg, skip a loop, go to the next outside loop, I have a little knot here because I have a kitten that likes to chew my yarn. My big kitty cat wouldn't dare do that, but oh boy. Shadow just loves to chew on yarn any chance she gets. Okay, now I chain one and I'm going to slip stitch. Now you don't want to slip stitch out here, and you don't want to slip stitch on top because this is actually your single crochet. So you want to go through here and through here. See these two front ones? And you want to slip stitch through that. That holds the top of your A together and gets you ready for the next stitch. Don't forget, that's just a loose end from where my cat chewed it. And you chain one, and now we get to connect it down in here to our single crochet. So we come in here and we go through both stitches. Whoops, forgot. Go outside, we go to the inside edge here. Come on, there we go. And both of the inside stitches. And single crochet. Go through the outside edge, both of the inside stitches, threads, loops, whatever you want to call them. Outside, inside. Identical to every other single crochet row we've done. Okay, just like that, all the way around. The inside stitch of this outer piece, both stitches of the inner piece. Inside of the outer piece, both stitches of the inner piece. You do that around, I'll meet you back over here. When you get close to the end, you want to check and make sure your inside and your outside rows agree. So here's the first single crochet. Here's 1, 2, 3. Here's your chain one, so that's 1, 2, 3. So they agree. If they don't agree, you're going to need to do your fudging on the inside row and not on the outside, because you're going to need these outside stitches on the next row, and you don't want to confuse yourself. So let's get our stitches matched up as we go around. Here's the last one. You find your first single crochet, and that's the one you slip stitch to. There. Okay, now we're going to do this for another couple rows so you can see what it looks like. I'm going to talk to you about the choice of stitches. You can choose to go into the long stitches around, or you can choose to go into the small ones. I kind of like to use the small ones because they're tighter. You don't have to because the way it bunches up. So you choose which one you want to go into, and let's see. I think I'm going to slip stitch in here, and I'm going to slip into this one because I want to use the small ones. So now I have transferred from where I was over the apex, where I was slipped in and back, and I've now transferred myself to the small one. Any way you can do to fudge it that allows you to get over to where you want. And then you chain up two, go to the next small one, make your next leg, chain one, wrap, go into that same small one, skip the long one, go into the next small one, and you're back on schedule here. Skip the big one, go back into the next small one. Okay. Skip the big one, go back into the next small one. Okay. I'll meet you back around. Okay, I came ahead and made sure I knew where my last couple stitches were because it gets kind of tight and funky around the end sometime. I made sure I have my single crochet separated in here. This is where the two of them met, right here, and I chained one and I slip stitch into the next stitch so I can get to my small pieces, my small stitches. So this was actually the end of the inside row opposite the long stitch. So the next stitch is my small one. And the one right before it is the next small one. Okay, I've already chained one. I'll go back through here. Where am I here? And back into there. And I'm going to go down in here. And then we go back to going through the inside, the two loops at the top of the apex. That's the long loop and the loop under it that's part of the stitch. Slip stitch. Okay. Now we're ready to join the inner and outer rings with our single crochet row. So we go through the stitch that we just came out of, go across, go through two loops on the inner, and here's the long stitch on the inside. Now you may have to turn these over to see them because they're kind of inside. You want to make sure that you get the inside stitches. Okay, that was the long one. We go back to the short one, the two inside stitches, the short one, the long one, and the two inside stitches. That's the long one. So the next one's the short one. Come inside. Attaboy. And did I go through that one already? Oh. Okay. So continue like this around. Just make sure you don't slip past any of the inside ones, because especially when you're doing the outside stitches, they're longer, and sometimes it doesn't look like they're across from each other like they're supposed to be. Okay. So you just keep on around. See how that's making that bubble up nicely like that? You're going around, matching your long and short stitches to your inside singles. Okay. I'll meet you around at the front. I've got 1, 2 outer here and here. I've got 1, 2 inner here and here. If I had to fudge them, I'd have to go back 2 or 3 stitches so that I'd have room to fudge. Are you? There you are. Come on. Okay. And find my first single crochet right there. So I'm going to slip stitch. See, this stitch has already been gone into. See, the stitch is not by itself, it's already been used. So this stitch is my first single crochet. So I'm going to go over into this stitch, and that's where I slip stitch at. All right. Now we chain 1, or 2 rather. We chain 2, 1, 2, wrap, okay. Now your long stitches are the ones that lead up to the bump. The short stitches are the ones right after the bump. And I'm supposed to be in this stitch. So I'm going to slip stitch into this little one. Chain 2. Then I'm going to go in. Here's the long stitch. Here's the little one that's right after the bump. Wrap. Go in that same stitch. Wrap. Here's the bump. Here's the little stitch right after the bump. Chain 1. I want you to go ahead and do 2 more rows, or you can wait. I'll do 2 more rows to show you what it looks like. You might change your mind, decide you want to do the V's every other row instead, but they show up more. Anyway, you go ahead, do this around, do 2 more rows of it, doing this one and the single crochet, and this one and the single crochet, and I'll meet you after they're both joined together on the 4th one of these rows, okay? We are going to use the simplest method for finishing this off. We're going to do a slip stitch around the entire top where we just did the single crochet. Don't make it too tight. Want it to be kind of the length of your regular stitches. Now you can vary this any way your heart desires. any kind of stitch you want to put on top. You can do the crab stitch and go backwards. But this just tucks it in nicely and allows the finish to come up like that. You could do another row of single crochet, but I think that's overkill. You can go through both the outside and the inside if you want and kind of claim them together. This, outside and inside, only you're doing slip stitches instead of single crochets. See? This way, this comes up, looks like it's coming up and ending on here. This way, it pulls it in tightly and it gives you a single row back here. So whichever way you think would be prettiest. You want it kind of hidden or you want it kind of showing. Okay? I think I'll go ahead and make the whole thing showing, going through both of them. So we go through the small one and the big one and the small one and the big one. This just kind of finalizes the whole thing all the way around. What you're doing is you're going through the loops. Sorry about the motorcycles. If they haven't heard about the don't go out today or this week. There we go. Okay. So you go ahead and finish that off and I'll meet you around the end. Okay, here's our finished bowl. Our flat bottom bowl. A very pretty textured size bowl. And the next part of this series will be about hats. And I'll cover other subjects like using two colors, one inside and one out, and how you can vary your outside, how you can have the same color for part of the time and then add on a color. This is what happens when you use only half doubles all the way around the outside as opposed to V-stitches. These are double V-stitch, these are half doubles. You still get a nice texture, but it's a more matte texture. It's not as stick-outish. You can also vary your V-stitch by putting rows of V, single, V, single. Have an interrupted stitch like that. And these do tend to be a little bit more straight up and down. This is just, this is overkill really, but I really like it. It goes more on the round instead of on the totally vertical. And this one's more vertical. Anyhow, so I hope to see you on the next version. And the version after that will be how to do these variations on a flat. And that's going to be fun because I haven't worked that out all the way yet. I'm still working on it, but I'll have it in time for the next video. Okay, so I will see you there, I hope. Happy hooking, guys.